What is up, y'all? It is your boy Winston Wolf. I'm back. I just want to do a quick review. By the way, the fan is on. I'm not getting up to shut it off. Mr. McMahon, Netflix 6-part docuseries. Every episode is about an hour long. As you can tell, I'm not enthused. I wasn't enthused watching it. I spent my day off watching this 6 hours. Granted, I wasn't going to do anything else. I don't feel that well and I'm tired, but it's like I've seen all this stuff before. I've heard all these stories before. It's like watching and listening to the Kevin Nash podcast. It's just stuff, and you don't even have to be a diehard wrestling fan. These are like stories that, again, you've heard on mainstream podcasts, like when a wrestler goes on Joe Rogan, or, who's the other guy? It doesn't matter. But I've heard all this stuff before. None of this is new. I didn't learn any new insights. The only good thing of this documentary, and there's very little of it, is Bruce Pritchard. I feel like he's the only person in here that gave you a good story, that tries to give you the other side of the coin. Because they didn't go hard, like Dark Side of the Ring, and try to make this like a direct-to-video horror movie with the reenactments and everything. But you could tell this was influenced by the success of Dark Side of the Ring. But Bruce Pritchard is the only one to actually give you the flip side to let you know, yes, he's an actual human being, just like everybody else. Like, that's why I don't like this whole political landscape with them, highlighting bad things that people do, because nobody is all the way perfect, and you're not going to become that much of a success unless you have some good in you, or unless you're a straight up sociopath and you can pretend to actually be a good person. So, but either way, you would have stories about somebody, about, the goodness in them. Pause. I wanted to see a lot more behind the scenes footage. That's really the only thing that interested me in this, was the little tidbits of behind the scenes footage. Like, we've seen before Brock Lesnar going backstage throwing the title belt at Vince McMahon. We've seen The Undertaker before he heads off to the hospital after the match he had with Brock. I want to see more of that stuff. Make a documentary about that stuff. This was just, it wasn't it. I understand they want to go after people that aren't really wrestling fans, but honestly, treat these documentaries like how you treat the NFL, like how you treat Hard Knocks, or or that type of stuff, where it's like, if you're not into football, why are you watching this? At least have some knowledge of the sport, so that way we don't have to spoon feed everything to you and make it boring and dumb it down and bore the hell out of the real fans, which is what they did with this. There was nothing new, nothing shocking. The one thing that they did try to do, and I think it's at the beginning of episode 5, they try to insinuate that Vince McMahon had an inappropriate relationship with his mother when he was younger. But then they had absolutely nothing to back it up. They just said in a Playboy interview, he implies, which they didn't even show the quote unless it just flashed really quick and I didn't see it. Because I watched half of this on my phone, the other half on the TV. But you can't just throw that out there and then be like, okay, well, and then this happened. And then they had a lot of filler. They had I almost said Dirk Nowitzki. Chris Nowinski. They got into the whole CTE thing with him, which I felt like, okay, yeah, you have to reference the Chris Benoit thing. But again, any person, it's like, with half a brain, you're going to be like, okay, if concussions was the cause of him going ham, how is Vince McMahon going to stop that? Is he going to make the wrestlers wear helmets? Is he going to say no more high-flying moves, nothing involving simulating your head, hitting anything? Like, how would Vince McMahon be able to stop somebody from getting concussions? They talk about them banning chair shots, and then they immediately go right to The Undertaker talking about, I don't like that. I'm an old school guy. We use that to tell our story. But a lot of this, pretty much all of it, is interviews from a documentary that they were going to do in 2021, or at least that's when they started filming it. And you might remember hearing about this. This is around the same time that you started hearing about the Vince McMahon biopic and how crazy the script was and everything, because Vince McMahon had final say on the script for the movie they were going to make about him, and it was just nuts. And thank God that never got... Actually, not thank God it ever got... I wish it got made. Because if you go after this, if you're interested at all, for the 2 people that are watching this video, go Google the Vince McMahon movie script and look at the highlighted madness that they were going to have in that. And that would have been a lot more interesting than this. I would have rather had Netflix focus their time and money on making a low-budget Vince McMahon flick based off of that script than what they did with this. And it's like ever since The Last Dance, Netflix has been trying to recapture that magic, and it's not going to happen. Because you're talking about Michael Jordan, you're talking about all the crazy stuff in his long career. You're talking about the crazy amount of footage that you had of Michael Jordan throughout his career. And his career was a storybook career. With this, they're basing it again all on a series of interviews that were for one project that was done, I believe they said, in 2021. So they weren't really reaching into the well to get anything new for this, as far as different interviews and things like that. I'm trying to think, and pretty much nobody was honest, because at that time Vince McMahon was still in the picture, not being honest in these interviews. The only person that's remotely honest was Trish Stratus, talking about she got punished for something. I think she didn't specify what it was. She just said she didn't want to do an idea or turned down an idea, and then she lost the title like 2 or 3 days later. And also, speaking of that, when they talk about that, they show the clip of Mickie James at WrestleMania beating her. Mickie James was a snack. Yo, I mean, it's not like I never thought she was or I overlooked her, but I forgot. Mickie James was it. I'm going to have to go back and start creeping on some old videos and some old photos, man. She was the proper thickness. But I'm just tired of these mainstream things. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's why Dark Side of the Ring is a success. Because you're going after wrestling fans. Wrestling fans have already seen and heard all this stuff. You're giving them a new take on things, new stories they haven't heard, getting in-depth in stories that they have heard, but because the business protects itself, it's fully never been revealed, so now you're seeing it then. With this, it's also, while the XFL failed, we knew this. The WBF, or what was it, the WBC, the World Bodybuilding Federation, WBF, that failed. We knew this. Neither of them were interesting anyways. That's why they failed. There was nothing behind it. They really quickly get into the Lex Luger stuff, pause, and then just never really elaborate on it. There's a lot of things that they just lightly touch, pause, and then just never get into it. I just feel like they rushed this out because of all the P. Diddy stuff. And who else? There's somebody else getting in trouble for stuff. I can't remember, but it's going to be a lot more people. But I feel like they're jumping on that that whole bandwagon right now with people that have certain misconducts, and it's, they're big news stories, and now everybody's hungry for that. They want to hear the dirt. They want to hear who's involved in it. They really quickly get into the Ashley Massaro stuff and the stuff that happened with that army doctor, and they never get into that in depth, which I'm thinking, like, if your whole goal is to make a Dark Side of the Ring type of thing, or have a documentary series that has dirt, shocking things, that's probably, and I'm talking about even more than Vince McMahon pooping on that girl's head. That's more disturbing and shocking, is the Ashley Massaro stuff, if all of that is true exactly the way it happens. The way that she claimed it happened. If you don't know, just look into it. Her tribute to the troops incident. But again, they never really get into that. And I feel like there's a lot of other people that they could have interviewed. Even if they were doing this interview at the time with Vince McMahon still in power. This interview that they took all these interviews, this project that they took all these interviews from. I felt like you still could have had people on there to really give you some dirt. And then since they sat on this for a while, pause, you could have brought that out now and had exactly what you wanted. But it seemed like everybody was just they were giving you a little bit of Vince McMahon's faults just so that it didn't seem like they were protecting him or lying or not trying to burn a bridge or whatever. But then ultimately just saying, Vince is who he is. If you can't handle it, then you're not meant to be in those situations. And, that's what a true shark in business does. That's what all the interviews seem like they were. It was a huge waste of opportunity, a waste of time. Maybe not for Netflix because, the way the trailer's cut, you're thinking like, all right, here we go. We're getting some Surviving R. Kelly. We're getting, this is, the prequel to the whole Diddy thing that's going to happen. But it's not. And it's just bad for wrestling fans because you're not giving us nothing. Pause. You're sitting on so much footage, so much good stuff and then you give us this. It's like, nah. But they fooled me. I watched all 6 hours. Mr. McMahon, Netflix, 0 to 10 dog bones. I give it, for the uninformed and bored, I give it 2 dog bones. Somebody's gonna get the flu, get their wisdom teeth pulled, whatever, be sat up in bed for a while, not be able to do anything. This is a good thing that you can just binge if you're not into wrestling and you're remotely curious. But also, that takes me to something I don't like is if somebody's not into wrestling and they're remotely interested and you throw a project at them like this that's just really nothing positive about wrestling, then I don't like it. I think basketball and wrestling are the 2 greatest sports on earth. Yes, it's a sport. Yes, if figure skating is a sport and it's judged by actually landing the moves and the artistry of it and the whole presentation, then pro wrestling is a sport. You can't argue with that. If breakdancing was in the Olympics, pro wrestling should be in the Olympics. Okay? 2 dog bones, Mr. McMahon. It's your boy Winston Wolf. I'm out.